On the east coast of Australia, there are few creatures that pose a greater risk to gardeners than the Sydney funnel-web spider. But today, I'm finding out how best to live in harmony with them with Spider-Woman scientist Caitlin Creek.
So the Sydney funnel-web actually has a pretty decent range as far as we know that goes as far north as Newcastle, but they also range down towards the Illawarra region, which is a pretty massive space for such a small animal. But we do find that those pockets that we see more frequently are located more densely in Sydney itself. So people find them in their backyards all the time. Yeah, found one right there, the back.
Yeah, I can see all the silk.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've got no plants to plant here, it's a well-established burrow. There's no need to disturb the burrow or anything, so we'll just leave it be.
Just leave it be.
Yeah.
Caitlin and I are in the suburbs north of Sydney's CBD, and her research into these spiders might surprise you.
As a researcher working with them in the field, in the wild, they are slow-moving, not particularly prone to sort of chasing you or anything like that. They really quite shy creatures and probably been one of the easiest spiders for me to work on.
And it's interesting because from a gardener's point of view, most of the time, or even anyone at their house, they've moved a rock, they've put a shovel into the ground, they're disturbing them, and it'd be like someone coming and ripping the roof off your house. You
get a bit stressed, which is totally understandable, and I think that the spiders themselves are very valid to have that kind of fear, defensive response.
Caitlin's work involves tracking funnel-web spiders in Sydney's bushland. They take found spiders back to the lab, attach a lightweight tracker with non-toxic glue, then once released back into the bush, Caitlin can monitor their activity. And today she's brought along one of her research subjects.
So this is Darren.
Darren?
Yeah. Well...
Do you name all your spiders?
Well, I do. It makes my life easier to know who's who. It just helps me when I'm looking back at my data to be able to see who did what. And yeah, it makes a better connection.
What's this little bit of cotton wool doing in there?
It's like a water bowl, really, for a spider. Their breathing organs are quite exposed, so they are more likely to have a lot of evaporative water loss happening. So they are part of a larger group that has members in it that we're all quite familiar with, some like trapdoors, mouse spiders, tarantulas. They're all part of this group of spiders that I think colloquially people know it as like old world spiders or primitive spiders. They've sort of adapted to their niche and then haven't had to change much more.
It's quite amazing that such a small animal has the power in it to kill a human.
It is, and the venom that they produce it packs a punch, and it is quite deadly to people and to primates as a whole. Interestingly, cats and dogs and other mammals have not been found to have that same response that primates have.
So the anti-venom has been a real game changer.
Yes, it's been so vital to saving lives that we actually haven't seen any deaths since its invention that 40 years ago. It's collected from live spiders. We don't have a synthetic version of that yet.
So the funnel webs are a high-ended predator, but it's also part of the ecosystem.
Yeah, so they are what we would call a mesopredator. So it's something that sits in the middle. They are very, very avid predators, but they're not just a predator. They are a really vital food source for a lot of our native animals as well.
Tell us a little bit about this shape. They've got an incredible form.
So we've got our head section, which has got all of their legs attached to that, and then they have got their abdomen. Coming off from that is their spinnerets. So this is where all of their silk actually comes from, and they have a really fine-tuned control over that. And in typical spider fashion, they also have 8 eyes. However, for these guys, their eyes have not been an evolutionary priority. So when they go into that defensive position and try to look scary, but in reality, they can't actually see you.
So how do they get around if they can't really see so well?
So these guys will actually use all of their other senses to be able to travel but they are very sensitive to vibrations in the ground, and that is because they've got a lot of these hairs all over their body, and there's particularly dense areas of hairs on their pedipalps, which are these two smaller limbs on the front of their face. And in addition to that, they will often use pheromones to be able to travel around. So they can probably scent out a female that might be close by, and therefore will sort of try and follow that pheromonal trail.
Caitlin's study into the behaviour of mature males reveals strategies to stay safe.
It's during summer when our males are on the move and they're looking for females that we tend to encounter them far more frequently than you would for the rest of the year. Because these guys are a nocturnal species, they really are only active at nighttime, because during the night they're out wandering, they're trying to find a girl, and then as the sun starts to rise, they're going to be like, okay, I need to hide. They'll find the closest hiding spot that they can be comfortable in, and then they will stay there for the duration of that day, or longer sometimes. And that's when people will have reports of them being in their shoes or in their laundry basket, their sheets or something like that.
Spider safety can be things like removing potential spider spots from around the home and a draft stopper at the door.
Out in the garden, you obviously want to be wearing your closed-toe sturdy boots, but before you put them on, you should always check your shoes. Make sure there's no one hiding in there. And in general, we don't want to be going out barefoot, especially at night time.
So long pants, covering the boots.
Yes, preferably a looser fit, so not something like leggings.
Gloves.
Yes, gloves, very helpful. Just making sure sort of skin is covered. It means that they're more likely to catch the fabric than your skin. They would still be able to pierce through it, so don't go handling them anyway. With gardening, making sure there's nobody on the ground around you before you were going to kneel down or anything. And you can do that with a variety of tools and something with a long handle, just to shuffle some of that top leaf litter layer, just to see if anyone's there. All right.
There you go.
Perfect.
Clear the spot.
Looks great. No funnel webs.
No.
Amazing. Slopes with rocks, that kind of environment. They love to sort of burrow in those areas, and if you're going to garden in there, I would always recommend checking it out first. But also, I would recommend as well using a torch to shine underneath rocks and whatnot, because the silk will often reflect that torchlight back at you. Makes it easier to see them and spot them.
All right. Do you think funnel webs as a whole need to hire a new publicity agent and get on social media?
Probably. I think it'd probably do them some good, because they have such an important role in the ecosystem. It's spiders as a whole, but also funnel webs specifically. We need them around us. If you really don't like cockroaches in your house, then you really probably should be keeping the spiders around you. Having them around your house and around the outside of your gardens and everything, if anything, is going to help to get that biodiversity flourishing. Avoiding any kind of squashing or insecticides and that sort of thing can be super helpful to the spiders and to other invertebrates and other animals that we all love seeing around our place.